Hello everybody and welcome to the first Mitlin Financial webinar on the big business of college planning. Many wealth management firms talk about the financial aspects of college. How much is it going to cost? How much do I need to save? Hopefully at this point, if you have young children, you already have that plan in place. If not, feel free to contact us and we'd be happy to put a college plan together for you. But tonight's webinar is on the non-financial aspects of college planning. How do you determine what school to go to? How do you determine what college campuses to visit? How do you know what questions to ask when you go on college visits? These are all questions that are going to be answered today in today's non-financial webinar. Now, in full disclosure, Hanson from CollegeLogic, who's going to be leading today's webinar, I have hired him personally for my son Zach in his search for a college. Also, in full disclosure, I'd like to let you know that Mitlin Financial is getting no compensation whatsoever from this webinar, or if you decide to proceed with Hans and his services. I will tell you from personal experience in working with my son Zach, it's been a tremendous opportunity for us. It has allowed us and our son to grow and help him navigate the college process on his own with our assistance. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Hans Hanson from CollegeLogic.
CollegeLogic. I'm going to introduce to everybody our 3 foundational principles for getting college right, saving thousands on college costs, and getting your desired outcome. So let's get right to it. Let's understand that colleges own the power position. You have the family, you have the college. This game does not start at 0-0. Many of us are sports fans. Hockey starts at 0-0. This game does not. We, the family, start behind. Okay, just a minute about me. I am Hans Hanson, National College Advisor, World Headquarters in North Haven, Connecticut. My technology center is in Houston, Texas. Just so happens my son Jeff Hanson runs that. I've been working this process for well over 15 years now. I'm an author of the book, Inside Secrets to Playing College Sports, What Every Mom and Dad Must Know. I'm author to the book, Dissecting the Big Business of College, Top 10 Strategies for Saving College Costs. I've been featured in several national journals, U.S. News and World Report, USA Today, and many others. And I've spoken in front of well over 30,000 people. And I'm a saver of tens of thousands of dollars worth of college costs. Now, before we get started here, let me share with you what I'm not going to do. And then I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm not going to be bashing colleges. However, I may bash parents for allowing colleges to do what parents complain about. So keep that in mind. I'm going to let you know that there are things that you think are right, but are not right. I'll let you know why they're not right. And then I'll let you know what is right. So if everybody's on board with that, that's our approach. In the end, I expect to be able to change the way you look at and approach college. Okay. Let's get started here. Colleges, they have the power. Why so? Because parents give it to them. Parents wait too long to jump into the process. They hold on to many mistaken beliefs. Parents actually oftentimes defer the job to others. They defer the jobs to their kids sometimes. And I go, oh my gosh, your kid is not in a position to navigate the college process. Our children can help us buy a cell phone, might be able to help us buy a smart TV, But typically, we don't go to them for advice on buying cars, buying houses, making investments, or buying a college. This is not a job to defer to others. Parents often just choose colleges randomly. They go through this process just picking colleges and which sound good or which are familiar to them. So parents on a regular basis are just making all the typical mistakes. And then in the end, hoping it all turns out okay. Colleges know this. They know the parents' tendencies. They seize the advantage in every single action they take. And when we get done here tonight, you're going to hear some ways in which they do that. They seize the advantage. Every move that they make. So when the colleges are in control, there's what I call the big disconnect. There's a disconnect between you and the admissions office, a disconnect between you and the financial aid office, this big disconnect between you and the anticipated studies, and for athletes, there remains a disconnect between you and the coaches. And when there's a big disconnect, there's no power. And that's how families yield power over to the colleges. And let's think about this. For those of you who may have already gone on some college visits, and those of you who may be contemplating college visits, where does this control begin? This control begins the moment you plan a college visit, you sign up for a college tour, you show up and go on the college tour. Why do parents go on college tours? Parents do this because they think that that is the right thing to do. They think that that is what they're supposed to do. And when they go on college tours, they're led around by typically a graduate student, just walking them around the campus. Oh, there's the cafeteria. Oh, there's the dormitory. There's the business building. There's the engineering building. The colleges control every step you take and every word that you hear. And during it, these very well-trained college reps, even though oftentimes they're volunteers, they are still very well-trained, will tell you things such as, our job placement rate is over 90%. You don't have to worry about your college major. We'll help you figure it out. Oh, we're test optional. We are need blind. Now, if you've gone on college tours and sat in information sessions, you have probably heard 2 or 3 or maybe all 4 of those things. What's wrong about them? Well, first of all, our job placement rate is over 90%. Who believes that? I'm here to say that there's not a college in the country who tracks it. So when they say it, it is nothing but made up or fake news. They say what you want to hear. I was told last week by 2 different people that on college visits, they actually were told that their job placement rate is at 97%. There's not a college in the country anywhere near that. But yet they say it. And what happens? Parents believe it, and then they come home and they tell it to other people. Now, you don't have to worry about your college major. We'll help you figure it out. The moment you buy into that, you have bought into the college's 5-year graduation plan for your child. When they say SATs are not so important, we're test optional. They send parents home thinking that, yeah, SATs aren't that important anymore. I'm here to say that that's wrong. They happen to be very important. They happen to be the number 4 criteria out of 15 in terms of the college rankings by U.S. News and World Report. The number 4 criteria, as long as it's the number 4 criteria, then the SAT scores will be very important. Why do colleges go test optional? Because it does 2 things. Number 1, it increases the applicant pool. When you increase the applicant pool, it lowers the acceptance rate and makes people believe the college is more selective. Number 2, when you test optional, makes it easier to submit applications. You increase the applicant pool, and if you can increase the applicant pool by 5,000 applicants at $70 a pop, I think that that's $3.5 million of additional income coming into the admission office. That's why colleges go test optional. Now you will hear and read about colleges claiming to be need blind. And yet, almost 500 colleges require the CSS profile. It's an extensive full financial disclosure form that you're required to fill out upon submitting the application. It means they have full access to your financial ability to pay for college. Nobody can tell me that they are need blind at the same time that they require full financial disclosure of you in order to submit an application. Okay, now you're getting me warmed up here. So to overturn the power position, we have to change the way you play the game. And I'm here to say that I say to everyone, every day, every talk that I do with every parent of whom I meet, you need to know more about what you're about to buy. And of course, that's college. Remember, I said I'm not bashing colleges. I'm not. Colleges are doing a lot of great things. They have a far wider range and more in-depth study programs than ever before. They have tremendous study abroad opportunities. Many of them have fabulous research opportunities. Many of them are well established in the International Cultural Immersion Program, which is typically summer programs. And they're very good at student preparedness, preparing them intellectually and educationally for to enter the workplace after college. But don't confuse that with job placement. I'm not saying that they're good at job placement. They're good at student preparedness. Totally different thing than job placement. And of course, college has been in the news a lot over the last month or two. Why shouldn't colleges be able to raise their prices? I hear people object to the high cost of college all the time. Well, colleges are a business. Just like my book, Dissecting the Big Business of College. That's what we do. We have to understand their business. Of course they can raise their prices. Why? Because people are willing to pay. Why shouldn't colleges be able to give preference to wealthy families or families who have affordability to pay? When we sell a house, we do the same thing. We look to find a buyer who's willing to pay and is able to close the deal. Why shouldn't colleges be able to do the same thing? Why shouldn't colleges be able to accept whom they want, accept who they want to have on campus, accept the students that they want to be interacting with every day? Of course, they should be able to accept whom they want. And in the end result, just like a big business, why shouldn't they be able to line their coffers? Of course they do. It's a big business. People might know that Harvard has like a $50 billion endowment fund. That's like a $50 billion savings account or investment account. Of course they can do that. Right now, there are probably 40 or 50 colleges in the country with an endowment fund that exceeds $1 billion. So colleges are doing great things, but please don't expect their goals or plans for you to align with yours, because they do not. Their goals are in conflict with yours. So I want to change the game. Put the power in your hands. The concept began with three things that we knew 15 years ago. Parents don't know the colleges. They don't know the what or the when, what to do and when to do it. And they don't know how. They don't know how to do these things right. For example, back to the college tour. These people don't know how to go on a college visit. And yet they're going to go home and spread all the false news. For example, the Common App is often submitted with incomplete sections. Essays are generally not interesting, and believe it or not, they're often not even read. Why not? Because they're not interesting. Quick case in point, probably 99% of all application essays do not have a title. And parents would say, well, why do they need a title? And I would say, when was the last time you read an article that did not have a title that captured your interest first? Responses to supplemental questions are not well thought out by the students. So where is the parent oversight during this? And there's typically not enough parent oversight. Too much is left to the child. Oh, they're working on the essay with the English teacher. They're working on colleges with the guidance counselor. I go, oh my gosh. The results are predictable. For athletes, for example, parents of athletes think the path to playing college sports begins with attending showcase events. Why so? Because they do that because they think that's what they're supposed to do. In the end, it's the ultimate chase strategy which doesn't work. They go to a showcase, nothing happens. They do it again, nothing happens. They do it again, nothing happens. I call it sign up and pay, show up and play, go home and pray, and then turn around a couple weeks later and do it again. Again, you have predictable results when you think showcases is your path to playing college sports. Rather, it all begins with meeting coaches personally in their offices. Much harder to do than signing up for a showcase, but it's 100 times more effective. So we get to the three foundational principles for getting college right, saving college costs, and getting the outcomes that you want. This is how we started. Here they are, three foundation principles. Get on the right colleges, number one. Meet the right people, number two. And ask the right questions. Those are the three foundational principles for getting college right. Now, it all starts with having a college list. So we have our CollegeLogic 6 steps. 1, build a college list. 2, follow the timeline that we provide. Number 3, create a personal marketing package. 4, broadcast interest to the key decision makers. 5, plan and prepare for college trips. And 6, visit the right colleges. Meet the right people. Ask the right questions. Okay, I assure you these people are not doing any of that, and their results are predictable. Lower scholarships, admission denials, their child sitting on the bench. They finish it all with a mountain full of debt, and the students come home unemployed. That is not the outcome we wish for our kids. It's a bad deal for them, but that doesn't have to be your story. This can be your story. You can adopt a new mindset that generates acceptances, saves the family bank, play college sports. That happens to be a picture of my son hitting a home run down in Louisiana during his college days. And in the end, win the game. This is about winning the game. This is about getting the game right. I'm going to show you a sample college list because this is where it all starts. This is what a college list looks like. So we identify the student and or athlete's interest in sports and or studies. We match up their GPA and SAT scores with the college admission standards for acceptance to determine whether it's a match, safety school, or REIT school. And you see, we like to center it around the matches, 11 matches, 6 REIT, 4 safety. Now, 2 columns that are very important, the acceptance rate of the college and the conversion rate of acceptances to enrollments. These 2 columns, column D and E, drive the business model of the college. That's what makes these so important. The lower acceptance rate combined with a higher conversion rate allows them to raise the tuition rates and keep more of their money. So this is financial aid, analytics, scholarships, freshman dropout rate, and 4-year graduation rate. All things that we think are very important. And for the athletes, we have it color-coded, in this case, 20 Division I schools and 1 Division II. So this is the makings of a college list. This is where it all begins. This is the foundation from which everything you do proactively. Okay. Now you heard us mention the timeline. So the first step was college list. The second step is a timeline. This is one of our timelines. So depending on where you are along in the journey, we customize your timeline for you. We let you know what to do and when to do it. We've divided the college process up into 4 phases that you can see. They're color-coded, and this becomes your college GPS. Now, we talked about getting on the right colleges, meet the right people. Who are the right people? The admission counselors, financial aid office. For athletes, meet the coach. And for all students, meet in your anticipated department of study. So let me give you a couple examples of asking the right questions. So remember, get on the right colleges, meet the right people, ask the right questions. Besides grades and SAT scores, what is the next most important thing you look for in applicants? Isn't that an important question to ask in the admission office? Of course it is. And here's a must question. What is the maximum scholarship for which you can offer? And what do I need to do to qualify for it? How can somebody visit a college, leave the college, and not even know the answer to this question? Now you go into financial aid. Ask the right questions. This is for people who might anticipate financial aid. How do you define financial aid, and does it include loans? And how do you meet demonstrated need? Now, if you're an athlete and you want to play college sports, well, certainly you have to go in and ask, what positions will you be recruiting for in my recruiting class? And for D1 or D2 athletes, what scholarships do you have to offer for my class? Now, with all these questions, I have a template for everybody in which I have 13 or 14 questions, must-ask questions for each of those 4 departments. And if you like a copy, I'll send you one tomorrow. Okay, Department of Study. Now, how do you visit a college without meeting in the anticipated Department of Study and understanding how this whole thing called college might turn out at the end? Because generally speaking, everybody wants a job. So just imagine 99 out of 100 people visit a college and they don't even go over to the anticipated Department of Study. My students do. And they ask a whole group of questions, 12 or 13 of them. One of them is, how do we get internships and job interviews? Of course, that's critically important. What types of jobs do your graduates get? So these are just a couple of them. So in other words, how does somebody go on a college visit and leave without meeting these people and asking these questions? So the plan and the goal is to find out all of these things, to become a knowledgeable parent, to know better about what you're about to buy. Does that make sense for everybody? That's the whole idea. Know better about what you're about to buy. 3 foundational principles: get on the right colleges, meet the right people, ask the right questions. Our 6-step approach: build a college list, understand the timeline, create a personal marketing package, broadcast your interest to the key decision makers of the college, plan college trips, and visit the right colleges. That is the process. That is our secret sauce. Now, Luis Pasteur, think about if you've ever heard of this person or if you know what he's famous for. Because when you realize he's famous for inventing the pasteurization process, then you would gather that that was about 160 or 70 years ago. And one of his famous quotes is, "Fortune favors the prepared mind." And so with all the quotes that I could choose, when it comes to college, college planning, college execution, getting college right, getting the outcomes you want from college without bankrupting the family finance, fortune favors the prepared mind. I love that quote. So let's connect. We want to get connected with the admissions office. You can't visit a college without meeting an admission counselor in the admissions office. Just going and taking a tour and sitting in on an information session doesn't meet the criteria. You would leave without ever meeting the single person who might decide on your child's application. It's good to meet in financial aid office and understand how they handle the finances. It's a complete must to meet in the anticipated Department of Studies. And of course, for athletes to meet the coaches. The biggest mistake that athlete families make is they visit the college and they only meet the coaches. They miss out on everything else. Those are big mistakes. All right. Now that's a wrap on this segment of our webinar tonight. For contact, here's my contact information. What I have promised everybody is that I will send to everybody the questions you must ask while on a college visit. So I just asked Larry to make sure I have your emails, or I'll forward this list to Larry and he can forward it to you all. But I will send you our tutorial on how to best visit a college and know exactly what questions to ask while on a college visit. And I call it must ask questions, not should ask, not I'll ask the ones I want to. You'll go right down the list, you'll meet with these people, go right down the list and ask all the questions. And when you do, you will be so much better off for that preparation. Preparation favors, fortune favors the prepared mind.
Well, thank you for attending today's webinar with Hanson and CollegeLogic. We truly hope we brought value and it was an excellent use of your time. Now the hard work begins. If you've started the financial process, or if you have not and you need further assistance, contact us at Mitlin Financial. We'd be more than happy to assist you through that process. On the non-financial end, Hans is a quality person who I would highly suggest you speak with in order to help you and your family navigate this somewhat and daunting and difficult process. So if you need to contact us, 1-844-4-Mitlin, hit extension 12. We'd be more than happy to help you. And as you saw in the previous slides, feel free to contact Hans at any time and mention this webinar.